Welcome to Moonlit Tales, stories to keep you awake. Tonight, a crash, a lost name, and the kind of truth that only arrives when it's too late to run. This is After the Crash. The glass didn't sound like glass. It sang, a bright, thin note, right before the world folded in half. When I woke, a ceiling stared back, square tiles, the color of old teeth. A nurse leaned into my view and asked for my name. I opened my mouth. Nothing. She tried again, slower. "Sir, your name?" I watched her lips move like a badly dubbed movie. My throat rasped. I don't know. She wrote unknown male on a wristband and wrapped it around me like a verdict. The police came. They told me a deer had leapt out. ID swerved. The guardrail caught the car caught fire, and I, somehow, slipped out between all the verb. They said I should be dead. I believed them. 3 days later they let me go with a concussion, bandaged hands, and a paper bag of pills with names longer than my future. Social work found me a single room above a pawn shop and a number for follow-up therapy. I memorized the number because it was easier than memorizing myself. That first night, rain seam ripped the city. I listened to it stitch the roof back together, again and again, and tried on names in the dark like shirts that didn't fit. Sometime after midnight, I dreamed. It wasn't like the dreams I remembered having, because I didn't remember having dreams at all. This was organized. A corridor of black stone. Walls carved with circles inside circles, lines crossing like spider silk. At the end, a door. On the door, a sigil, 9 interlocking rings, each pricked with a single star. I knew it the way you know your own hands in the dark. A voice I couldn't place whispered, inside my ear and behind my teeth, "Return while the hinge is open." I woke with blood in my mouth from biting my tongue. My left palm stung. Under the bandage, a pattern had risen in my skin, faint like old ink. A circle, a slash, and a small star at the edge. I told myself it was from the crash. Burns do strange things. The rain kept talking to the roof. I didn't sleep again. I learned the city in loops. Pharmacy to room, room to coffee, coffee to the river. People watch you when you don't know who you are. You move wrong. You look too long at ordinary things. At the coffee shop, a woman sat by the window every morning with a paperback and a red scarf. Third morning, she looked up and smiled like we'd rehearsed it. "You're late," she said. I blinked. "We know each other?" "Not yet." She slid a napkin across the table. On it, a shape, 9 rings and a star. The sigil from my dream. "But we will." "Who are you?" "Someone who wants you to stop walking around with your head full of broken locks." She stood. "Tonight. 9:13. The old observatory." "Wait, what's your name?" She considered, then lied beautifully. "Call me Mara." She left the napkin. It smelled faintly of cinnamon and book dust. The river carried the day forward to dusk. I followed it because it seemed to know the way. Under a bridge, I passed a man with a cardboard sign that said the sky is a door. He watched me like a priest at a confessional. "You're wearing it," he said. "Wearing what?" He touched his own palm. "The key. They'll come when the clock is wrong." I gave him the only thing I had, the truth. I don't know who they are. I don't know who I am. He smiled sadly. "That's how the door opens."
The old observatory sat on a hill like a skull with one metal eye. The dome was frozen half open, clouded with rust. The gate was chained, but the fence had learned to surrender in all the right places. Inside, the air tasted like cold coins. A circle of broken chairs faced a platform in the center where the telescope used to be. The platform was empty, except for Mara, red scarf like a wound in the dark. "You came," she said. "I had a dream," I said. "I keep having them." "I know." She walked a slow arc around me, testing for gravity. "You were supposed to die on that road. Someone moved the piece." "What piece?" She tilted her head. "Do you trust me?" "I don't trust mirrors right now." "Good," she said. "Then you'll hear me clearly. Your memories weren't stolen. They were sealed. For your safety. And ours." "Ours?" She stepped closer. You're not lost, you're hidden. I don't understand. You will. She reached for my bandaged hand. May I? I hesitated, then nodded. She unwrapped the gauze gently. The sigil under the skin seemed darker in the observatory's dead light. Mara pressed her thumb to it. The room inhaled. The air tightened. Listen, she said. If anything I say makes sense, you'll feel it open. If it doesn't, you'll walk away. Either way, I'm keeping a promise. She began to speak, a language made of corners and echoes. It wasn't a language meant for mouths. It was meant for keys. Something behind my eyes unlatched. Memory didn't come back like a movie. It arrived like a floodlight through a keyhole. I remembered a library that wasn't a place, and a city map drawn on the night sky, and the taste of iron after a spell, and the weight of a name. I was part of the ninefold sigil. Not a club, not a cult. A lineage, old as regret. We hid in plain sight, wrote in shadows, moved policy with a breath and weather with a word. Not because we wanted power, because someone had to keep the hinges from rusting shut. And I hadn't just belonged. ID carried a role inside that circle, cartographer. The one who felt where the doors were thinning, where the seams between what is and what pretends to be were easing apart. I was good at it, too good, which is why they erased me, which is why I asked them to. I staggered. Mara caught my elbow, steady as a post. Breed, said. I remember, I said, horse. I remember everything except why. Mara's eyes shone. Then the spell worked. They'll feel it break. They're probably already. We weren't alone anymore. A man stepped out from the shadows near the dome's edge. Suit too perfect for a ruin. Smile that never met his eyes. Evening, he said. Cartographer. The word rang in my bones. Mara tensed. Agent, she said flatly. You're trespassing. He ignored her. We worried, when your car lost its appetite for asphalt. But you surprised us. Most people never crawl back from a seal that deep. Who are you? I asked. A colleague. Think of me as audit. He tilted his head. Do you remember who ordered the seal? The answer hovered like a moth in a jar. I did. Good, he said. Then you understand why I can't let you walk fully awake. He raised his hand. Mara stepped in front of me. No. The man smiled. Please. This is delicate. The hum slipped behind my ears. My thoughts fuzzed, then blurred, then tried to turn around in a hallway too narrow. I tasted copper. Stop, I said, but the word came out as a memory of another word. Mara's voice cut through. Anchor. She pressed my marked palm to my chest. Listen to me. He can't rewrite what's already reforged. He can only fog the glass. The man's hum sharpened. Pain threaded through me. Images stuttered. The deer, the guardrail, the fire. Then behind them, another layer, a hand on the wheel that wasn't mine, a flick of fingers, a road bending wrong. I gasped. The crash was arranged, the man said mildly. Your little vanishing trick inconvenienced very important timetables. Who ordered it? I asked. My mouth knew. You did, he said again, voice soft. After we explained the risks. After you saw the map. You were loyal. You understood the cost. Something inside me went still. No, I said. Someone moved the piece. The phrase from Mara echoed like a bone memory. His smile thinned. You always did hate being handled. Mara whispered in my ear. He's not alone. Footsteps, softer ones, padded around the edge. Shadows with hands. I straightened. The hum tried to fold me. I stood anyway. Tell me, I said to him, what did you do with the bridge ledger? His mask slipped a fraction. We secured it. Where? In the only place you can't draw, your head. He reached out as if to touch my face. I swatted the air, but the hum shoved my thoughts sideways. Words slid off the floor of my mouth. And then Mara spoke a word that wasn't a word at all. The hum failed. For a breath, I saw him clearly, the small scar under his eye, the fleck of silver in his irises, the hunger hidden under professional concern. Run, Mara said. I'm done running, I said, surprising us both. I lifted my marked palm. It burned, then cooled, and the air between us bent the way heat does above asphalt. I didn't remember the incantation. My body did. He grunted, more irritated than hurt. So, some of it's back. He glanced at the ring of shadows. Enough. They moved. Mara grabbed my wrist. We are not equipped for a stand. Doors, cartographer. Find me one. The observatory had 3, the one we broke in through, the one the knight keeps in its sleeve, and the one no city inspector ever finds. I felt for seams. The air brightened near the cracked floor where rain pooled in a shallow circle. There, I said. The hinge. Open it, she said. I don't have to. You do, she said. You always did. I closed my eyes. The 9 rings spun behind them, clicked into a shape that wasn't quite geometry. I pressed my hand to the wet concrete and pushed, not down, through. The floor shuddered. The air buckled. The observatory slid sideways like a coin across a bar. We stood in a service corridor under the city, lights buzzing, pipes sweating. Mara laughed once, breathless. Still got it. My knees considered quitting. What was that? A very small door, she said. You drew it open. I leaned against the wall and we both listened for pursuit. Nothing. Either the door spat us farther than I thought, or the agent didn't want to risk following blind. Mara tied her scarf tighter. We don't have long. Once you're awake, you won't be safe. Not from them, not from the others. The others? She hesitated. Not everyone in the Ninefold liked your plan. Not everyone wants you back. My plan? The moth in the jar beat its wings. What did I do? She studied me, deciding how sharp the truth should be. You tried to break the map. Why would I break the thing I was built to read? Because you found a door no one should draw. Because you learned who really writes on the sky. And who is that? You, she said softly. The Ninefold. We've been drawing for centuries. Steering. Keeping the hinges oiled. But maps become cages if you never step off them. I felt the shape of a memory, sharp and heavy as a key in a pocket. I wanted to give the city back to itself. You wanted to give the world back, she said. And someone decided the world wasn't ready. So you sealed yourself and went to ground. Then who moved the piece? I asked. Mara's smile was tired. Pick a faction. The Pale Council. The Archivists. The ones who like their weather tidy. She touched my marked palm. Point is, you're awake now. And they will come. I stared at the sigil burned into me. It didn't look like a brand anymore. It looked like a promise. What about the man at the observatory? I asked. The agent. Hell file a report, she said. Hell recommend retrieval. If the council thinks you can be folded, they'll fold you. If they think you can't. She let the sentence trail into the pipes. I nodded. Then we hunt first. Mara's eyes flicked up, surprised, then resolved. There's a name you'll remember if you let yourself. It will taste like iron. I swallowed. The taste arrived on cue. Silas. Silas Vey, she said. He chaired the vote on your seal. Hell know who turned your road. I pushed off the wall. Strength found me halfway. Where? Where they keep the old knight, she said. The Maritime Archive. Riverfront. 2 floors below the genealogy rooms. Elevator doesn't stop there. Of course it doesn't. She grinned, quick and bright. You're back. Not all the way, I said. But enough to be dangerous. We climbed out of the service tunnels into a parking lot that had forgotten what day it was. The rain was gentler now, stitching the asphalt with tiny silver mouths. Why help me? I asked. Really? Mara shrugged. Because I like my sky honest. Because you didn't deserve the way they ended you. Because once, you found a door for me when I was down to my last no. Will you keep helping? I'll meet you at the archive, she said. Midnight. Use the river entrance. Try not to get folded before then. She turned to go, then looked back. One more thing. The dreams? They're not dreams. What are they? Receipts, she said, and disappeared into the rain. I walked. Names tugged at me from alleyways. Street lights blinked in patterns I almost understood. The city felt like a book I'd loved once and was learning to read again. By the river, the man with the sign had moved. Head upgraded. The door is a sky. He nodded as if I'd delivered a sermon head ordered weeks ago. You found one, he said. 2, I said. Maybe 3. They'll come for you. I'm counting on it. He lifted his cardboard like a toast. Then mind your hinges. I smiled despite myself and kept walking. The conspiracy I'd been tracking like a stray dog was only half a story. The other half was older and uglier and more beautiful than I remembered. I hadn't stumbled into it. I'd built it, and then I'd tried to break it, and then I'd hidden from my own design. Now the map was back in my hands. The roads glowed. The doors hummed. And somewhere in a building that pretended to be about yesterday, a man named Silas was preparing to make sure I didn't have a tomorrow. I flexed my hand. The sigil warmed, a small star against my skin. Alright, I told the knight. Let's reopen the case. You've been listening to Moonlit Tales. If this chapter kept you awake, subscribe, leave a comment, and meet me next time at the river entrance just past midnight. Until then, mind your hinges.